Welcome back to Not Leaving Las Vegas. We have a news update today, and I can finally speak with clarity about the big losers and the big winners of F1 Grand Prix Las Vegas.
Finally, one of the season's most anticipated Grand Prix weekends has arrived.
Unfortunately, there were some small mom-and-pop businesses that had direct damage and harm to them, and we're going to go over that in this video. We're also going to go over who actually won, and if you think it's the casinos, you're right, but it wasn't all casinos, and I'm going to tell you about the casinos that lost in the month of November and actually saw their revenues drop because, believe it or not, that really did happen. We're going to cover the negatives and talk about some of the experiences that you may have had on the Las Vegas Strip and how, you know what, crazy, I'm not going to curse in these videos, this whole thing was and how it hurt the city in so many ways. But I didn't want to make this video without seeing the damage or the gains because, as my wife, Sweet Caroline, pointed out, we don't know if this would have had a trickle-down effect. And we still don't know, and it technically did, but we're going to touch on that too. So we have two sets of businesses in Vegas. We have the casinos and we have the small mom and pops that are just off the strip that support the casinos. The small mom and pops used to be on the casino strip on Las Vegas Boulevard. They haven't been there for years. It is corporate America out there, and I made a video on that, which you should watch, about who really owns Las Vegas. It was last summer, and it's a fascinating documentary that you should check out. Largest casino and landowner in Las Vegas aims to remain anonymous. They work behind the scenes, with you, the general public, not really understanding the pressure they've created that's driving the market. At the same time, tourists also had to deal with a number of things. What did tourists have to deal with? Let's count the ways. When they say they built temporary structures here in Vegas, it completely blocked off many landmarks like the Mirage volcanoes. We completely blocked off the entire Bellagio fountains. These temporary buildings were not just small little rafters that you would think would be set up at a high school football game. These were giant structural steel developments that took half a year to build. And the paving of Las Vegas Boulevard, which was completely unnecessary because what most people don't know, and I know because I used to work on the Strip before COVID, was that before COVID-19 pandemic and shutdown, the Strip businesses were given notice that there was a giant, nearly $1 billion paving project on Las Vegas Boulevard that was in play. They completed that, and then they tore up most of the streets to make them F1 ready. This reduced traffic to one lane in each direction for most people for a substantial amount of 2023.
This is crazy. These guys are blocking the intersections every day. Every single one of these cars. I've been sitting on the freeway, sitting on Flamingo from the 215. We're at Las Vegas Boulevard for 45 minutes.
Causing traffic disruptions, taking hours on end to drive the 5 miles of Las Vegas Boulevard, and causing it just absolute chaos and bedlam as they installed rafters and lighting and different things for the F1 race. They cut down the trees in front of the Bellagio that were installed when they built the property nearly 30 years ago, only to throw most of them into wood chippers and not replant them in parks. These were olive trees, and these provided valuable shade and obviously clean air for people in the city and gave folks something to shelter under in the hot August days. Now they've replanted those trees with new trees. They said that those trees were old and getting diseased. That is an argument that I will leave to a botanist or an arborist because, as far as I know, the trees were healthy. But we also had temporary bridges installed on the east side of the Strip, and that's where these businesses say that F1 cost them millions. Now they want some of it back. And how many millions did it cost them? $23 million. There are 9 businesses that are being represented by a PR agency here who's going to the LVCVA, that's the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and asking for some of that money back. These businesses are off of Flamingo Road and Cobalt Lane. I'm looking at the article from the Review Journal as I speak with you, and they say they lost an estimated $23 million in the entire spring to fall period of 2023. Gas stations that are in the area couldn't have traffic come through and couldn't sell any gasoline. Places like Ferraro's, the steakhouse, who claimed that they lost over $2 million alone on people that didn't want to be bothered with the traffic problems because they couldn't find a parking spot because everything was built up in the area for F1. Oh, hi. Now's the time of the video where I have to take a timeout and advertise myself. I have another channel called Dark Vegas. It's documentary stuff that doesn't just cover Las Vegas. I'm doing a documentary on the dark side of Dubai, things that you would never know if you just watched YouTube. And I already have a couple of documentaries, one on Pfizer and how big they absolutely are, and one on the strange nuclear testing that they did out here in the desert all those years ago. Go watch that channel and subscribe to this one. Subscribe to that channel, subscribe to this one. Subscribe to that channel, subscribe to this one. I'll talk to you guys on the other side of this break. And places like the famous Ellis Island, where my wife and I tried to go a couple of weeks before the F1 race, and we did successfully get in, but at the same time, it was very hard to get out. It took us a half an hour to go about half a block. There was trucks backing in and out of everything, and people stopped in the middle of the road while they were trying to rush the last bits of construction on some of these superstructures. Now, is this going to happen again? Probably not. Not most of it, a lot of it. If they don't tear down the temporary roads, this still is a problem for these businesses that are not getting the business anymore. If they install a proper bridge that goes over the area, the bridges were installed so people could get in and out and to work and to and fro. If they install a proper bridge, maybe that would help. They're not going to be paving the roads again. That's one thing that we know to be sure, because they can't pave the roads every single year just for F1, but they will probably have to weld down the manhole covers, because if you were paying attention during that weekend when the race was run, a manhole cover caused countless damage to one of the F1 cars when it ran over it at over 200 miles an hour and threw off the manhole cover, needing it to be welded down shut. So the question is then, who are the winners? And you know the answer to that. It's the casino industry. A second article that I have right here says that, the Formula One turbocharges November gaming revenues to record high. So obviously, gaming revenues were the second highest they ever were. This lends to Europeans coming in and favoring table games over slots. As a matter of fact, the slot takes for November dipped, but the table games were higher than they were before. At the same time, you had Europeans that were willing to spend money, but not a lot of people at local restaurants. I saw one of the steakhouses on the Strip, Outback Steakhouse, relatively empty because European high rollers weren't going to Outback Steakhouse, right? And at the same time, this was 23% increase from the November last year, and the second biggest posted revenue that they had in the state's history. July 2023 was the highest ever at $1.4 billion in gaming revenues. This was $1.37 billion, just shy behind it. So one type of mom and pop business lost $23 million, but the casinos took in a bunch of money. But see, it wasn't all the casinos. Yeah, downtown actually posted a loss on year over end. It dipped. Downtown's revenue dipped, likely owing to the fact that people who are coming to Vegas wanted to be part of what was happening on the Strip. So instead of staying downtown on Fremont and doing their gaming there, or even staying at a casino on Fremont Street, they decided to say, well, the prices are high no matter what. I'm going to go down to the main Strip and stay there for this one time. Well, that means that we created a giant vacuum for the big casino companies to basically clean up and clock it. And that's a major issue for a lot of people out here. The question then becomes, who directly benefits from this? And was there any kind of trickle down that happened? There's a few notes to point out on this. Number one, the F1 will be run the weekend before Thanksgiving. The weekend right before a major holiday is always a bit of a dip. So they're filling up people in rooms and giving people working casino floors and bars and things like this something to do. So there is trickle down there. Whether or not the trickle down comes to everybody else in the city is another thing, with mom and pop businesses losing $23 million over the course of that year from spring until fall, with the downtown casinos also seeing a dip. I don't know if the downtown casino dealers and cocktail servers and everything like that think that they felt anything good out of it. You'd have to ask them. It's not in these reports. So we also know that any gaming revenue that comes in also goes to serve the general coffers and the general fund for the state of Nevada, meaning that almost all of our entire state here is powered by gaming revenues. That's the most take. Gaming revenues, tobacco and alcohol taxes, live entertainment taxes. But there wasn't any live entertainment taxes that weekend because most of the shows canceled due to the F1. So yes, this did go to fund parts of Nevada and the city, but no, it wasn't all rosy-posy peaches. There was businesses that actually lost money. So it's a mixed bag at the end of the day, which is why I didn't want to talk about it when it was going on. I was getting fired up about things and getting on fire for the fact that so many people were complaining about this. I did want to see if it would make a positive impact. And this is where we're at right now. So you tell me in the comments below if you think that this was a great event for the city or if it was a lousy event for the city. I'd love to know, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you coming out for F1 next year? Are you going to stick with coming on a different time of the year? You tell me in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. This has been a news update. Like, share, subscribe for more. We'll talk to you guys in another one as we look at the camera and we say 3, 2, 1, click. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and click.